Welcome to the Evening Gamer, everyone. I'm Taylor.
And I'm Guy. How are we all?
I'm all right. I love it how we keep saying that we're going to record on the same day and we move it every week.
Well, it's because we have lives, my friend.
That's true. And it's been a hell of a week in Australia. I feel like this is a very Australian time of year. Like we had Anzac Day the other day.
We did.
Which was good.
Which was great.
If you're not Australian, that's kind of, it stands for the Australian New Zealand Army Corps. And that's where we kind of honour our troops and everything they've done.
Yes, it's 2-up. We all played 2-up in the bars and have a great old time and bet some money. We had a lot of fun that day.
We did. I lost most of my gambling money. 2-up's one of those games where I feel like I can just... The amount of 50-50s I get wrong, it's insane.
It's almost like that game's designed on 50-50 bets.
No, yeah, but like I'm saying that like I feel like I have more chance of getting a 1 in 4 right every time I play 2-up. So 2-up's a game where 2 coins get thrown in the air and you bet on heads or tails. They both need to land on either one. And you bet with someone around the crowd. You just go head-to-head bet, so it's like 20s or 50s or whatever you want to do, and you kind of take their money if you win, or they take your money if they win. And I always seem to fucking lose.
I love how we're reviewing 2-up. I'm going to give the challenge and entertainment a 5.
No, but that was good. So it's been a hell of a week. That's why it's a Saturday now. Anyway, welcome back.
Welcome back, everybody. I mean, they're going to listen whenever they want to listen. And we had a lovely write-in and somebody mentioned that they listen as they sort of do chores around the house. And I really appreciated that.
Yeah, I've appreciated all the write-ins. We've had a few.
We have. Like, I think sort of doing the competition giveaways sort of brought some people out of the woodwork, and we do read them all and try and engage with everybody and, want to give shout-outs, and T and I have sort of discussed at length of saying, if this podcast does generate more listeners and we eventually veer into the advertisement space, that we'll do the Mr. Beast kind of style of thing and try and give it back to our listeners.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that we're both on the same page about wanting to keep this kind of free to consume for as long as possible. And if anything does pop up, we'll definitely go the reinvestment route. But a lot more giveaways and things to be excited for and keep an eye on. On the subject of write-ins, a few shout-outs we want to give. Bolts, to Satala, Meg, Matthew, Blair, thank you all so much for writing in with individual reviews and telling us about what gaming means to you and how you're enjoying the podcast. We appreciate you so much. And to anyone that's kind of followed or left a rating through the giveaway that we're doing, which at this point in time is still running.
Yes.
We have about 30 or 40 entries in there. Good luck to everyone that's involved. As I said, at the time of recording, it's still going. That's drawn on the 30th, so we'll announce the winner on our socials on the 30th, but then, kind of go over who won that in episode 13, which will be obviously a week from wherever you're listening to this.
Have we come up with a way of how we're going to pick that?
Yeah, we'll just do a raffle.
Like what random number generator?
Yeah, no, so online, I've done this so many times for like raffles at work and stuff. You just go on a website and it's like a Wheel of Fortune thing. You pop everyone's name in and it spins and then whoever it lands on. So it'll be absolutely legit. Everyone that has an entry has equal chance of winning. And if you win, maybe next year go play some fucking 2-up because you might you might have
wherever you are in the world
gaming than I do. On that, someone that did write in, and I won't name them specifically, but we got a couple of write-ins about like what gaming means to you, especially from like the mental health side of things and like how it's complete escapism. And I think that definitely resonates with me. And I know that I think in episode 1 or 2, we spoke about what gaming meant to us. And that's definitely something that's true for me, for sure. Like gaming's always like a safe space, like you get home from work and you've had a long day and you can just fucking jump on the Xbox, play whatever game you're playing. It's an environment where you're in complete control, gives you something to do. It's an outlet. Like it's so good to hear that not only gaming, but also listening to this podcast kind of encapsulates all the ways to deal with those things that come about, living an adult life. So yeah.
I mean, it's a no pressure environment for the most part. I mean, I certainly, it is escapism, but it doesn't, that's not what scratches it for me. Like, with gaming, I just think it's a fantastic art form and does fantastic storytelling. And I want to experience those worlds and live through them and play through them. Which, speaking of which, when we talk to today's game, I think we've had a very love-hate relationship with today's game.
Yeah, actually, that's a good intro. So we're doing Dragons Dogma Part 2 today, which we'll get into in a moment. The other thing that I wanted to say there was, I think gaming serves you in different ways as well. Like, I think everyone, when you tell someone that you're a gamer, someone that's not a gamer goes, they might say something like, what a fucking waste of time or something like that. And I think everyone has that moment where you go in and you see how many hours you've spent on a game and you go, shit, like, if I had spent my time elsewhere, maybe it would have been more productive. But everyone does things. Everyone has hobbies. Like, how many hours do people spend scrolling on their phones or like watching TV or just, you know, like everyone has the thing that they do that really they do when they're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And I don't think the gaming, it's so demonized. Gaming is so demonized from that standpoint.
I think it's becoming less and less over time. I think it was demonized a lot back in the day, you know, and there were certain games that were at the high end of that triggered that, of the WoWs and South Park riffing on it and that kind of stuff. Whereas, you know, I think the more, you know, as time's gone by, it has become less so. But yeah, there's still stigmatisms out there.
But there's been heaps of studies, and we've spoken about this before, about how gaming serves you in different ways. Like, it is that the studies to back it up and the evidence say that you're better at problem solving. You're better at being a little bit social, because often when you game, you meet new people online, and the first thing you do together is sometimes a stressful situation. If you're playing like a battle royale, like, you got to communicate in a way that no one ever would if you've just met someone for the first time. Your reaction time can be quicker. So there's like a lot of things there that say that gaming serves you in a way that it might not serve other people that spend their time doing other things.
Yeah,
which I think is fascinating.
Like doom scrolling. You know,
yes, exactly.
On the gram for hours going, geez, where did those 4 hours of my life just go? And all I've seen is cat videos or whatever it is.
I know what I'd prefer to be doing, which is working on my gamer score.
You hesitated, and I thought you were going somewhere weird with that.
No, working on my gamer score. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
The first thing to shout out is, I think we did a question. I think it was episode 11, our latest one, where we did the question, which was, what would your favorite gaming world be? And one thing we didn't, I don't know if we spoke about it or considered it, but we had a write-in from Tiffany saying that it would be Hogwarts. Which is fair.
Yeah, which is fair.
There's the element of Voldemort always coming after you and his scrotum of a head. But, there's danger.
Well, I mean, Hogwarts Legacy, you know, there was no Voldemort. You know, it was just sort of the goblin, the little goblin fella in that one.
But is that another...
Are you saying more just in the Harry Potter universe is where...
Well, that's the thing. When a game's become a movie, what are the parameters of that question then?
Yeah. I mean, I think the Hogwarts world is an okay one.
Yeah.
You know, as things go. You know, I mean, shit, like, yeah, if you knock out all the Sims and things like that, I mean, Sims, you might end up drowning in a pool anyway.
Yeah. The fringe benefits of living in the Hogwarts world would be sick.
Yeah. Get some honeydew or whatever they call it. If you lived in
the Hogwarts world, would you go down the whole bad spell route of it?
I mean...
Or would you be like, you'd be like a straight A fucking student. You'd be like, you know what, actually, if I'm just going to live in this world, I'm just going to do everything I can to survive.
I think knowing me and
I'm not going outside the school grounds, man.
Knowing me and how I was in school, I think I would struggle to get levitation fucking working and shit. And go this stupid Latin, like
just
why is it not
pixie dust back in the fucking dorm room instead of actually doing it. Whatever their equivalent is. Apart from that, we have two things to cover off from a review perspective. Correct me if I'm wrong. Last episode we did Sekiro, and after that episode, look, that came in at a 9.52, and I stepped away from that episode and I said, that's a really high rating for Sekiro. And it kind of occurred to me that in that review, that rating that I did, I maybe would have been chasing after Returnal, which we rated super high as well, came in at a 9.82. And we've done slight corrections around that.
We have.
A little bit more representative of, you know, what an entire gaming experience would be for those two games. And the last thing we want to be doing is rating and reviewing games after those games and chasing after those ratings based on how we think other games sit on par with them.
Yeah, I mean, like, you never want to be chasing another game to try and sort of beat it just when you're looking at these two games, putting them side by side, feeling one is better than the other, but yet the rating is not reflecting that. You know, and so when we then chatted about it, I probably put my hand up and gave Returnal too high of a rating, you know, and fell into that trap that we did early doors where it was sort of, I love this game, so I'm giving it 10 out of 10. Like, you know, we sort of went back through it and looked at some of the categories and was like, is it really a 10 out of 10 for, you know, whatever it was storyline previously? I mean, it's great, but is it groundbreaking? Is it revolutionary? You know, had I fallen into the trap of my love for the game, meaning I gave it too high of a score? Yeah. And the answer is yes.
And we're not doing this to overcomplicate things. As we've said, we want the ratings to be as legitimate as possible for evening gamers. And we're still, you know, like, We're only changing it for the better of the rating system. So
Yeah.
very, very quickly, Sekiro's gone from a 9.52 to a zero. Oh, sorry.
Whoa.
to an 8.92. Changed out challenge and entertainment from a 10 to a 9.5. Character dev from a 9 to an 8. And loot and extras from a 10 to an 8.5, which I think is way more representative. Do you want to just quickly do the corrections for Returnal?
Yes, so we did storyline, took it from a 10 to a 9. You know, it's still fantastic in that regard. The feel mechanics, I think we lessened that very slightly, it's sort of a 9.2 now. Challenge and entertainment, we lessened that from what was sort of a 9.9 to just a flat 9 now. Character dev and build, this is the one I probably lessened the most, just because, yeah, we sort of took it from a 10 to an 8.5. I won't sort of bore everybody with reassessing it all, but just felt there probably could have been more in that space of the development of the character and sort of the build of it. There was some, but could have done with a little bit more. Oh, geez, now I'm saying it and I feel like I've done it dirty. But anyway, loot and extras, 10 to a 9. So it's ended up being 8.94, which is very close to Sekiro, you know. And I think for anybody, you know, when we eventually get publishing this list and you're looking through the list, you know, you could sort of go, I want to play the top ones on this, you know, and kind of work their way through that list and say, yes, you know, they're right kind of thing, you know, for the reasons that we've explained. You know, it's sort of your shopping list of, you know, if you were to be getting into gaming and you haven't played these games, this is why we're doing it. So seek these ones out. And
two things on that. You know, Guy hates it when I spoil this, but that does mean Returnal is still our top game at an 8.94. And also on the, you know, kind of publishing the reviews and ratings, I've been working on the website. So we do have a website live. It's called theeveninggamer.com.au. On there, we have links to our podcasts and our socials. And on there as well, we're, you know, gradually rolling out all of our reviews and ratings, which you can kind of read through. We're pretty happy with it. So check it out. See what you think. Write in if you got any feedback. On top of that, Dragons Dogma Part 2. Dragons Dogma 2.
Dragons Dogma Part 2, yes. And this is episode 12. And, you know, we touched on it previously, but now we're going full hog, giving it its full time in the sun. We're going to be ripping our way through it. T and I have given it a lot of time over the last few weeks. And if for many of you recall, this was my top game when we did the games of this year. Yeah. And so I was really excited for it. And I've been giving it a really red hot crack over the last little bit. And I think T and I are going to have to agree to disagree on a couple of points here as we work our way through this, because we had differing experiences. For
sure, which is concerning.
It is concerning.
Because the differences aren't from like how we experience the challenges of the game. Most of the differences are from things that should never be part of a game. Things like bugs, crashes, these types of things. We'll get into that. But I suppose to give a bit of a recap for Dragons Dogma Part 1, we covered it back in episode 8. Very briefly, recap of the storyline. Your royalty, you fight a dragon, your heart gets taken. You essentially arise and become the Arisen, but you're a peasant, you work in the mines, and you need to make your way back to royalty and squander the Queen's plans of usurping the throne. Now, that's essentially the storyline. Okay? I think how we're going to do this is kind of kick off going down our review system, each category, and kind of talk about the nuances that we kind of had playing through this. I'm about 60 to 70 hours in, and I'm going to kick the episode off by saying I uninstalled it.
Well, yeah, I haven't gone that far of uninstalling it just yet. But, you know, I think being 60, 70 hours in, you're probably not too far off closing it out. You know, sort of it is in that 90 to 100 hour game, you know, to finish it, 100% it, if you will, on a single run through.
You've finished it, but I uninstalled. So, look, we never talk about endings in this podcast. We're not going to give anything away, no spoilers, but we've both played enough of this game to give it an honest rating and to talk about it.
Yeah.
Now, from a storyline perspective, I thought the storyline in this game was actually one of its strengths. The storyline was one of the best parts of this game. You know, I actually really liked it, the way that you had what's his face that was part of the, you know, almost like the King's Guard that was working with you to kind of get you back to, you know, your previous status, I should say, and the little missions that he sent you on, they made sense to me. I thought that they were pretty good. They were pretty fun. But like something that I thought early on was like one thing that bugged me is he'd send you on a mission which kind of had like a stealth element. It's like, oh, break into the capital, you know, and do this thing. And there's no fucking built-in stealth mechanics into this game.
Yeah.
So you're kind of walking around. You can't hide behind any... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, the game doesn't give you the opportunity to be like, hey, now go do this cool thing. You know? And it's... That kind of really bothered me because you couldn't get through that mission without being seen, without getting chased, because you can't hide. Like, you end up just kind of crouching behind pillars. You can't cling onto walls. You can't, like, do anything like that, you know? In fact, I don't even think there's a crouch function. You have to walk around like you're about to pick someone up.
Yeah.
It's little things like this that when I'm playing a game, I just kind of sit back and go, how fucking hard would it have been if you're going to send me on this mission to make it flow the way it's meant to. And so often playing Dragons Dogma 2 throughout this, and look, I'm not going to be the negative guy through this entire review, but I felt so much playing this game that input A didn't speak to input B very well, if you know what I mean from like a gaming IT perspective.
I just think that the lines drawn were not clearly made out, you know, because with those missions where you're sneaking into the capital, you know, you could do it as a thief, and the thief has a skill set which is blend into the background, you know, and that I didn't certainly do it as a thief, you know, and they like you'd get in there and you'd be like, I don't know where to go, you know, and you're trying to figure it out in a way.
And like that's such an odd way to do a game. I get it. You know, like this is very much open world, very much RuneScape in the way that's like, hey, you pick your build and you're able to do some things really well based on that build and other things not so well. But like when I pick up a controller, I go, there's like a couple of things I look for. And one of them is, okay, what's jump, what's run, what's crouch, what's parry, what's block. And like even getting into fights as like, what was it, the Blade Master or the Spear Master or that vocation?
Mystic Spearhand.
That's the one, Mystic Spearhand, which I was really excited to use. Having been, I think I actually was a thief to start off with. Having been a thief to start off, you can actually kind of like dodge. There's a dodge mechanic for that vocation. But the Mystic Spearhand, there wasn't. So you find yourself in battles where you're like, hang on, I can't even actually do combat based on the foundations of sword combat and mechanics that are meant to be built in because I'm not the right vocation.
Well, the Mystic Spearhand, instead of having a dodge thing, had like a pure block thing where he'd pop a bubble shield around him or her, and then that would prevent you getting damage. And so when I was playing the Mystic Spearhand, I maxed out vocation pretty quick, and I actually almost took down, you know, some huge monster with 5 health purely just on doing that block thing every 2 seconds. So it worked out really well.
Another thing when it comes to the storyline that I was super impressed with, I felt it kind of dying, but then you kind of get into the second stage of the game where you make your way to the capital and it kind of changes biomes, which I was happy with, because so often when you're around Vermund or however you want to say it, that original area, the grassy plain, when you travel from space to space, it was just the same fight 10 times. Like you just fight goblins every 50 meters up the road. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, there was a lot of that in that early area, and you do spend a lot of time there. So it was nice to have the biome shift of going down south. I found the storyline rather bland. You know, it was sort of... I wasn't excited for the next part of the story. Like, you know, you do the missions, and I felt I was merely doing the missions out of just... as it's a thing to do, the next place to go. I wasn't sitting there going, I'm actually genuinely curious, is this girl going to end up getting the throne back, beating the dragon, or whatever it may be? You know, I was just kind of like, every mission line was, hey, can you go here and do this thing? And you eventually, I know most games you can eventually get down to that kind of just courier element of it, but some of them are just a little bit more... Give me more. Make it a bit more colourful. Make the characters more interesting. I'm almost putting this next to The Witcher and say, you know, The Witcher had so many moments where it was interesting characters and asking moral questions of the player, whereas in this, they made attempts to ask a moral question of the player, but then there was no payoff. It was irrelevant, the outcome.
And like it's funny to be talking about it like this, because we said this multiple times throughout playing this, like Dragons Dogma 2 is a mid game for me. But I was enjoying myself.
Yeah, we touched on it.
And that raised a question for me that was kind of, is that representative of how, you know, whether or not Dragon's Dogma 2 was good? Or is that representative of the fact of how much we've just been yearning for a proper open world game, basically since Elden Ring? Because if you think about when Dragon's Dogma 2 dropped, every other game right now that is solid and good, Lies of P, not Sekiro, but all these other games that we've spoken about recently, they're all linear.
Yeah, I think it fell in a really good place, but even that happening. Like this game, it's upper mid for me. I think it did a number of things quite unique and quite different that are interesting, and have given it, for me, some credit, and I think a lot of people listening who have played this game go, yeah, actually, I agree with that. Like for me, there's some positives that, we'll get to as we work our way through this. But, the storyline, coming back to sort of the topic we're on at the minute, was a fall down for me, where it didn't quite nail it. But one thing I did respect about it was the fact that the whole pawn system that it's inbuilt in this game, a lot of games where there is like you have a companion of this and all the rest of it is just like you hire some rogue in town and they come along with you for the journey, and their name is irrelevant, their backstory is irrelevant, they mean nothing. In this, the pawns, most parts, their backgrounds were irrelevant and didn't mean much, but their story of who the pawns are as people was written into the game world.
Yeah, and what's with the racist overtones? Like, you get to the capital...
sub-citizens over here. Get out of my bar.
You get to the capital, you can't even use your pawns. Like, and everyone you walk past in the capital goes, what is your business here? And then you try and talk to them and they're like, hey, dude, don't talk to me. I'm on my shift. And you're like, why the fuck did you accost me in the middle of the road then? It was so weird. And like, coming back to a few of the missions, fuck me, it was buggy. Holy shit, it was buggy. Bro, the first mission I had in the capital was to go to the jail and talk to a prisoner there. And I could not get in the jail without being violently molested by the guards and arrested constantly. And there was no like, oh, you've done this step, do the next step. Even when you have to find a person of interest who's called, I think her name's Akira, the game's just like, go and find her. And you're like, where? And it's like, I don't, anywhere.
Yeah.
Go find her on the map. And it's like, at least give me like where she was last located.
Yeah.
Like what?
Definitely some of the criticisms towards this game of it didn't hold your hand too much when it came to actually where do you go, how do you do this, and the parts of the puzzle, and you'd often kind of be scratching your head and you end up just Googling it, out of sheer just sort of impatience of going, I'm not going to run around this giant fucking map where there is almost no fast travel, and you're ox carting around, but even then you might end up in fights and all the rest of it, or just walking, and to walk to complete a mission that's on the other side of the map literally would take you all afternoon to get there.
And why am I always overweight?
Wow.
What? Why? I'm sorry, but I get it in games. I understand why it plays a part, but why did they do it the way they did it in this game?
Did you get many of the golden bugs?
Yeah, I got a shit ton of them. I reckon 30, and they barely made a difference, bro.
Yeah.
Like, you're going to ask me to walk from town to town. You're going to make a game that is all about resource and loot, and you're basically not going to let me carry any of it.
Yeah, true. I mean, for me, it was like I kept looking at my loot and I'd sort of be carrying so many potions for like, cure frozen, cure this. And eventually like, how many fucking times have I actually gotten frozen?
Yeah, and also, I can't even really use them appropriately when I am, because I either don't have them, they're back in my, in my chest, or I don't even think about whether or not I use them.
Well, yeah, I mean, if
they're redundant.
But if you've got pawns and most people would be walking around with a pawn who's got the ability to cure debilitations, a sorcerer or mage or whatever it is, then they really do become redundant. You could drop them off. But
it's just so dumb to me, like, especially expendable resources, why give them such a heavy weight?
Yeah, like I mean, some of them were. Yeah, I mean, the camps thing was.
What happened
heavy.
to the quick use menu that so many other games integrate? Like, why did they abandon things like that? Like, we spoke about Grand Theft Auto bringing in the weapons wheel.
Yeah.
Every game has used that since. Some things work. They didn't use a quick use menu. Like, I think it was like if you clicked like left bumper and up, you could heal or just use your latest heal.
Yeah.
But there was no like, hey, shuffle through them and make sure you've got the ones that you need.
What you want there. Yeah.
Anyway, I just found myself being like, why would I combine anything? I don't need them.
Yeah.
And don't make loot so alluring on the track if I can't even carry it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, do we want to skip ahead and do loot extras? Because that was another area for me that fell down purely because I really dislike the fact of I would go into a dungeon, you'd fight tooth and nail through this thing, and it would take you 15, 20 minutes, and you get to the bottom of it. And the loot you get at the very bottom of it is a ripened apple.
Yeah. Or a bunch of flowers.
And I started looking into it. Or
like the courtly briefs that you've fucking found 10 times already.
Yeah. I started looking into it to be like, okay, so like I want to search out a good spear for my Mystic Spear hand. Where would I go for that? And you look on the fucking forums, and it's like, oh, like one of the best ones you just buy in town. You're like, why am I buying the best shit in town? You know, why am I not finding it out there and getting the Sekiro satisfaction? Pop it on the screen, light up.
We're going like,
you know, you've fought hard for this, and you've gotten a sweet bit of item, and it's going to change up the way you play the game.
Yeah,
I think that was a miss for me on this game.
Like, and Destiny brought that in and did that so well. Remember finishing raids on Destiny, and you get those pieces of equipment, and you're like, oh, it's gold, oh, it's purple. Like,
it's such a minor change that they could have done that would have really probably put this game up a lot higher for me, because that was one of the key things that really dragged it down.
Yeah. What about field mechanics? This is actually a part where I thought was, apart from running around obese all the time because I wanted to actually carry things and use them. Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought the field mechanics was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I thought that the skills that you could get, that you could add from the vocation, that you could level up. I also think that the passives that you could get were pretty good. You know how you could add the passives in that you didn't have to activate them. I thought they were really good. So I thought that, you know, from a combat perspective, if we put aside not being able to, you know, dodge or parry across vocation, I actually thought it was pretty good. It flowed pretty well.
I think this combines with me on a little bit on the character dev and build, because obviously those vocations are the build of your character, but they do then change up the feel and mechanics significantly.
Yes.
You know, playing separately from a thief to then a sorcerer to then an archer, you know, really did revolutionize or change up the way the game played. And you think about it and go, okay, a lot of other games out there, The Witcher, you know, or I'm sort of using that one as a base point, but, you know, The Witcher, you've got the sword fight, you've got the crossbow, and then you've got a couple of bombs, you know, and that is one vocation. This game has given us, 11, 12 different ways to play this game that differ wildly in how you go about challenges, you know, and I think sort of the elements of even just the traversal of the world, you know, you start playing as a sorcerer and you get the ability to double jump and fly, you know, and you're like, wow, that really does change it up a fair bit. Or, you know, the archer and their sort of double jump mechanics, and the thief. I got a skill at one point as a thief that made me untouchable. You know, where I would just go into smoke and anybody who'd attack me would make me disappear. It became OP, but I was like so impressed by just the sheer variety within this game. Yeah, I mean, but there were inbuilt in the game. You would have the masters, you know, and that was how I got that ability with the thief to completely disappear. Is that I came across the master, did their missions, and then they grant you this special skill, and that skill then applies not only onto you but also your pawn as well. So there was a little bit of inbuilt stories or missions set on the vocations that there are in the game.
Yeah, fair enough. I had some funny moments in this game with the bugs. Like, man, like walking into the jail, like, I have this recording on my DVR, which is me talking to the prisoner, and because it's like a semi-cut scene, like I'm getting absolutely bashed left and right of me, but it's not affecting me in any way because I'm kind of in a safe zone. So yes, it produced some funny moments, but moments that should never have existed because it just, I don't know, like input A didn't speak to input B. Like the game just didn't flow very well for me. And like I'm not a whinger. Like then I go, okay, I'm obviously doing something wrong. But then it comes back to our previous point. The game didn't let me figure out what was wrong.
Yeah,
it didn't let me go, oh, you haven't done this one thing. Like you sit there guessing. And like I had to go to Reddit, and someone was like, you got to speak to someone at the front of the town. And everyone that I spoke to at the front of town basically in different words told me to get fucked. And that's at the point I was like, oh, nah, man, like you're asking so much of me now. And you're asking me to pick up the pieces of things that you just left broken on the ground as developers. I think that this was a game that you need, I think to really enjoy this game, you need to put hundreds of hours into it and come across things when you come across them.
Yeah, I mean, because I Googled a lot of things as I played this game because my patience was wearing thin, you know, and I refused to play a game twice, you know, and even when I Googled things, there was one mission I came across where the mission was go back to the first resource you collected of this specific item, and there'll be a different item and bring me that different item. And it was like, I have no idea the first time I picked up this resource 40 odd hours ago. Yeah. Like impossible. And I look it up online. It's like, there's nowhere to know unless you wrote it down when you first started playing the game.
So dumb. And I think that's what I was going to say something when you were talking about, you know, you're happy that it was no hand-holding. I think there's a very, very big difference between no guidance and hand-holding, and there's definitely a huge middle ground there that a lot of games find. Well, let's start the rating because I think the challenge and entertainment aspect is going to be a bit contentious between us. So storyline, should we go through the rating now?
Yeah.
I think storyline, we both landed on a 7.5. I thought it was the best part of this game.
I thought it was, I wouldn't go so far as to say it was the best part. For me, it was averaged at best.
I'm not someone that's huge on storylines either, but I actually enjoyed it. It was clear, it was obvious, everything was communicated to me. The missions made perfect sense. I could get on board. And it's also something that we've seen in a lot of these really successful TV shows of people, this kind of hierarchy of royalty, like Game of Thrones, that was so successful because of the storyline the Dragons Dogma 2 also loosely followed. So 7.5 there. Field mechanics, we were both pretty pleased with as well. Nothing groundbreaking though, so we gave that and a few shortcomings, so we gave that a 7.5 as well. Character development and build, we gave a 7.5, and loot and extras, we were both pretty disappointed. We gave a 6.5 because you're right, you shouldn't just be able to buy the best bit of gear for 50 grand from the town. Yeah. It should have been more reward based than that. Now, the one that's contentious is challenge and entertainment. You want to give this, was it an 8 or a 7.5?
I think, some of those other scores you gave as well, I would have gone a little bit higher as well. Just on the character dev and build, I felt that was higher than the 7.5. I was going to give that an 8.5, but can we split the diff on that and go an 8? Just because the different vocations is
fair enough. It was well thought out.
Yeah, that was quality.
I want to give challenge and entertainment a 6.5 because apart from the main storyline, I thought when you traveled from place to place, it asked a lot of you to not loot anything. You had mostly the same fight 10 times. I thought that so many games I've played have so many different enemy builds, and yes, you touched on before this episode the differences between night and day and different enemy builds there, but largely, like in the first 30 hours, if you played this game properly, you had like 5 enemies. You had the goblins, the lizard dudes, the skeletons, and like the flying ones. Like that was it. From an enemy build perspective, it was dog shit.
Yeah, I mean, early game variety of enemies wasn't fantastic, but it does open up a fair amount. Just with the being over encumbered, did you use the pawns for their backpacks?
Yeah, and they all became over encumbered.
Yeah, right. Okay, interesting. I just sort of, for me, like I never really came. A few times you'd get heavy, but then I'd share it around, and then next thing I know, I'd be back at a base or whatever, and just dropping all the loot off. But for
me, with open world games, the best part of them is going into the open world and spending maybe 10 to 20 gaming hours there.
Yeah.
Why am I coming back every 90 minutes? Because I can't fucking carry anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's forcing you to
Where's the entertainment factor in that?
Yeah.
I don't feel alone. I don't feel in danger. I can't actually run that far away from a home hub because I could become over encumbered. It was so stupid. It was so dumb.
Yeah, I mean, like, I wouldn't be as sort of vicious with it just because I think what they were going for was the ability or to create objectives for the player beyond just the missions of saying, you know, the player's going to have to make a decision of going, do I continue driving hard into this dungeon where all my guys are over encumbered and I'm going to have to start dropping off shit and combining stuff and drinking some potions, all the rest of it, forcing you to use resources that people often just hoard anyway? Or do I have to use a limited resource of its fast travel to get back and then march all the way back here again?
You saying I'm dumb about it? Here's an idea, guy. And I've spent 0 minutes of my life being a game developer. Here's an idea I just came up with in 30 fucking seconds. How about this? Your camp set that you carry around constantly, they're very heavy. How about this? Every time you camp, you can fucking store items in there.
Yeah, I mean, well, like, it's interesting, like, you know, reading online sort of where this game is sort of going to end up in the canon of it. Yeah. You know, a lot of people have given it a 7, 8-ish out of 10, you know, and it's sold fucking 2.5 million units. You know, it's been quite the blockbuster for Capcom. Can we go a little bit higher on the 6.5 and go 7.2? Just my reason for saying that is that the challenge of it, to learn a vocation to the point where you are sort of expert at it, did take some time. It was challenging.
All right, well, do you want to hear what
let's hear
our system is spat out of 10? Dragons Dogma 2, the Capcom 2024 open world RPG, 7.34, which I'm happy with. I could have gone lower. I'll be honest. I'm not just going to give this a high score because they made a big game and they made it open world and they chucked a lot of shit in there. No. Okay? 7.34, I'll live with it.
Yeah, I think it's when we look at 7.34 and then put it into the matrix of sort of the other games on our list, I think we'll both walk away and say it deserves its spot in that list.
Yeah, fair. Who does this game appeal to? Which of our evening gamers should give this a go if they haven't already?
This game appeals to the open worlder, the Assassin's Creed. You love to 100% it. You want to find every nook, every cranny, and you sort of enjoy exploring a world. That would be who it would appeal to.
I love those. I love finding those nooks and crannies.
You love slipping right in there. So, what was your favorite mode?
Yeah, and I want to make it clear that I had a lot of things to vent there, and they were all valid. I don't think at all that this is an awful game. When I hear Game of the Year and things like that, and I think just by default, people want to give games like this a really, really high rating, and I just couldn't do it based on my experience. So I think 7.34 as well is fair. Questions from a hat.
Yes, questions from a hat.
The silly fun part of the pod.
Yes. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go first?
Do you want to do silly question first?
Nah, let's finish with the silly one.
All right. Well, I think mine's quite silly. So let's go yours.
Okay. What mini game
silly.
do you love or hate? What mini game in a game?
You know what I actually really enjoyed playing was poker in Red Dead Redemption 2.
That is a good one. I feel like that's too good of an answer though.
Do you mean like a game in a game that you had to do to get something, or that you could just kind of play?
Well, both. Like any one where it's like you walk up. Some games are really like on the nose about it, and there's a fucking arcade in the corner of a bar that you then play in.
Yeah, like game in a game. Kind of thing.
Where you just sort of like it's Pac-Man but different sort of name on it or something stupid.
You can't just copy and paste another game.
Exactly.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying.
But then there's the games like in Cyberpunk where you've got to do the number, sort of the left, right, up, down to sort of get the code to hack the thingy, which, in the scheme of things is the simplistic hack ever I've seen, but whatever.
Yeah. Let me finish if you'd let me answer the question, mate. Watch Dogs. I really liked having the different games to hack the mainframes. Like you had to like connect. It was almost like Snakes and Ladders in a way. You had to connect dots.
Remember you did like it.
And sometimes there was a time limit as well, which actually kind of made it sometimes stressful.
Yeah.
They were good games, but I really enjoyed those games in a game.
I thought you were going to say in Deep Rock Galactic the fucking mini jumper thingies, because that was a laugh, because I was terrible at those.
You couldn't do it for some reason.
Stressing me out every time.
You know why? It was so similar to a mobile game I used to play. Yeah. It was kind of like you just had to touch your screen to make a jump.
What was that game called?
I can't remember.
Sort of mini Rocket Man or something.
It was just called Jumper.
Yeah, something like that. No, I remember there was a little yellow man, but then they did it anyway. Your question, mate.
My question's very silly. You ready?
Yeah.
If there was an MMA match for gaming character champion of the world, MMA match, so they can't wear their suits or anything like that.
Yeah.
We're going just by pure fighting ability and strength here.
Yeah.
Who would it be between, and who would win?
Well, are you gonna set the fighters for me, or am I just sort of picking out
anyone? Like the people that come to my mind, or the characters rather, are people like Arthur Morgan, the Master Chief, Doomslayer. Maybe even Link, Mario, something like that.
I mean, like, I don't know if Doomslayer is it his suit that makes him fucking a beast, or is he actually a beast underneath it? Because I mean, Master Chief, that dude's genetically engineered, and like I think he would definitely fuck up Arthur Morgan. That's for sure. Like
Arthur would die twice.
Yeah, I mean, especially if it's late game Arthur Morgan.
Yeah. He's just got the TB.
Yeah, he's struggling.
He's not loving. His fitness would not be good.
No, he'd be struggling.
He'd be going half a round.
Yeah.
I reckon Master Chief and Doomslayer would be a hell of a fight.
That would be a fight.
Because I think they both are. Like,
that would be pretty. That would be pretty entertaining to watch.
The other people the other characters I'd like to watch are people like maybe like Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. You take away their abilities, they might still be decent fighters.
Yeah, true. Yeah. I like
Mario would be a laugh. Imagine him just up-coining everyone in the ring.
Well, I mean, if
I know.
His normal height, it's going to be like watching a midget get beaten up. Like,
I'm just a plumber.
Wow. Apologies to any Italians out there.
It's me, Mario. Yeah, I don't do a very good Italian accent. I apologize. There you go. Next week, what
are we doing?
Well, we've got DLC for Remnant 2 that just dropped. That's on the agenda.
That is.
But I feel like, Remnant 2 is a game we've covered. So let's go back to old ways for one episode and do Remnant 2, DLC, The Forgotten Kingdom, and another game. And I know you have Sea of Stars on the
Yeah, Sea of Stars is one I played not that long ago and is worth its time in the sun, and we'll give it a review. It's a very different game to what we usually would play. A bit of left field on that one.
Yeah, so thanks so much for listening.
Thanks, everybody.
Remnant 2 DLC next week and Sea of Stars. We went very heavy on the gaming review today, so we hope...
Yeah, that was pretty dense.
We haven't done that every week, so...
I know,
that was the backbone of our podcast. So we do try and make it as conversational, as funny as possible, but that's sometimes hard. Especially when I uninstalled the game, literally, because I was frustrated.
Well, I think we gave it a good review, and I think people would listen to that and go, yeah, it is worth a go. I would say it's worth a go.
And that's it. Don't be an NPC.
Keep leveling up.
See you, everyone.